Now that the engine is free of its exhaust, I've put it up onto this table thing and I'm cleaning it using that stuff. I'm just brushing it on. I'm going to leave it there for about 10 minutes and then wash it off. Just done the first clean of the engine. It's come up quite okay so far. Just removed the grime that has been hiding all these numbers, which presumably are the tightening or releasing sequence. It's come out looking not too bad actually. Got most of it out. That's yeah. Just taking the sump off. No bolts were giving me grief there. But thankfully, I found this in the bottom. The bottom half of the sump or crankcase has more passages down there than I was expecting, but thankfully that was lying just down there, so I don't need to go any further. That is a bit of luck. Put the sump plate back on. I'm going to leave it there for the time being whilst I order a gasket for it and a new oil filter. So although I found the washer pretty easily, well, quickly, I've still got some work to do on this engine. Somehow get that out. Four studs need to come out and be replaced. I've still got to put the shim in for that exhaust valve. This one, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do about it. Working on trying to get this engine bolt out, and what I've done so far is to put on a spacer here, a washer and then a bolt, and oiled it all up, torqued it right up, shot a load of plus gas. I put a load of heat on it and that didn't really work, but I took it all apart, cleaned it up, sprayed more plus gas on, torqued it up, oiled everything and torqued it up, and then whilst it's torqued up, give it some taps with a hammer on the end. Not a big one, just this one. I'm not sure how big that is. I don't think it's even a pound. But anyway, whilst I'm tapping on that end, I can hear it suddenly, the sound change from a ping ping to a thack sound, and then I can torque it up a bit more, and then I do it again, and then it goes to a thack, and I can torque it again, and it seems to wanting to move, so might be in luck. I'm going to try and capture the sound of when it slightly shifts in the mounting holes. Oh, that was easy. Oh, I can see it moving now. Yeah, it's definitely moving. I'm going to stop because we're going to need to deal with that. I might file that actually. Should be okay to file off. Way. It's free. As soon as it got to about there, I just kept spinning it with the rattle gun and then just pulled it out and it came out fine. Took quite a lot of extra spaces, but got there in the end. Today I received some things in the post for the GS500 and they're not pretty exciting, but I needed them to put the engine back together. These are just some exhaust gaskets. This is another gasket, that's for the, it's in there, that's the cam chain tensioner gasket, original part. This is the ventil shim, or the exhaust shim. That's the 2.60mm, which is the one I need. Got to double check that before I put it in. That's just an oil filter. That's the gasket for the sump, which I need to replace. This is a sump pan off. Cleaned out those two sludge traps. The sludge, or just heavy deposits of oil, collect in there and go nowhere. Just noticed something. This ain't the same gasket that's coming off. I've already started to take it apart and then I noticed, what the hell's this all about? Trying to look for other differences. I think it is more or less the same, just with this pointless stuff. I also noticed GSX400. Taking the gasket out, it seems to match up all the bolt holes. So, cut out the centre and prepared surface, just cleaned off all the old hard gasket. This is ready to go back on now. Pan's back on with its new gasket. Spent a bit of time trying to line up the gasket all round the best I could. Doesn't fit perfectly, so try to make it even at least. Torque for each of these bolts is 12 to 16 Newton meters. I've put some copper grease on them, so I'm going to stick with 12 Newton meters and just do them all up now. Oil filters in, put the new O-ring in, and put all these bolts back on, or these nuts back on. Put copper grease on the threads and on the mounting face of these bolts, because they are fairly rusty. I've spent some time doing some pointless painting. This is the clutch push rod assembly thing. Not sure what it's called. It was very rusty, the whole lot, so I took it apart, cleaned it, and then dunked it in that over there, which is my electrolysis rust setup. It's just a tank full of soap crystals in there, hooked up to battery charger, positive plate for the sacrificial part, and the negative goes to the part you're trying to derust. And I just leave it there, and when you pull it out after a couple of hours, the rust just falls off. So that's what I did for all of these parts, and also these headers. It's a bit pointless. I'm in two minds to weld these back on to the pipe over there, but all the rust that was on these collars or flanges just came off, and these drop into the engine fine now. You can see how pitted it is. That was what all the rust, where all the rust used to be. Currently I'm working on getting these broken head studs out. well, they're not broken, their heads were completely mullered and couldn't get a tool on them, so I drilled them out. So as I got nothing to grip on, and I'm still waiting on these stud extractors from Amazon, I decided to just crack on and weld on a bolt onto all the broken studs. Studs have been soaking in plus gas, and just welded this one up after grounding that bolt to a taper and cleaning everything up. Welded with this crappy welder, dual shielding, so it's flux core wire with just 100% CO2. Nothing fancy. Used this socket adapter, so when I turn it, I've got less chance of snapping it because it's in line, the torque's in line with the bolt. And we've got 1 for 1 so far. This one's come out a little bit tricky to begin with, so I worked it backwards and forwards and a bit more plus gas, and then now it's just, yeah, should come out with my hands now. Yeah, that'll come out fine. That was a bit of a tough one. The bolt which I was welding on kept breaking. It just seemed to be getting brittler and brittler the more I welded onto it. So I welded onto it here, and then it broke up here somewhere, and then I welded it back on, and then it broke somewhere else. So in the end I just stuck a knot on the end, welded that one on, and worked that one backwards and forwards very slowly, working in a bit of plus gas each time, and eventually it came out. That one took quite a while to do. Well, managed to get 3 out of 4 out of the engine. This is the shrapnel that remains of the studs. I chased the threads for each of the studs holes and put a bolt in just to plug them off, but unfortunately that one snapped off in the head. I'm gonna chance it and try and get that one out, drill it out, drill as much as I can, and then use an easy out type thing. I don't like easy outs, not had great success with them, but gonna give it a go. I've just been to Halfords and picked up these few items. Some high-speed steel cobalt drill bits. This is a well, it's an extractor set, and it makes me a bit nervous because I have snapped one of these off before many moons ago, and I bought some drills that I can. They're a bit small, but I'm going to use these to start off the hole in the head. I'm going to try the easy out now. Well, I got there in the end. I had to use practically every drill bit I had, that I just bought. So I went up pretty much every half mil up to 7 mil. At 6 mil I had to stop and realign it. It was slightly off centre, about half a mil, so I used the Dremel to bring it back in and bring it over this way, and then at 7 mil just cleaned it up, and then ran an 8 mil tap all the way through, and good to go again. Didn't use these screw extractors in the end. I think that's a good thing, because I really don't like them. despite drilling the stud out pretty much all the way, these just couldn't take it out, and I just bottled it every time I was trying to pull the stud out with one of those, because once you snap them you got to take it to somebody else to cut that out, which is really hard steel. You have to use probably carbide in a mill to get it out.